Let's return to This Week in America. Here's your host, Rick Bratton.
Welcome back, everybody, coast to coast. This Week in America, it's the story of one man's journey through life, finding his way, lost and found in Alaska, a true story of survival and miracles on Kodiak Island and elsewhere by Bruce LaChance, will help every reader become aware of his or her higher power. That power, Bruce says, resides within them and always has, and if they are willing to surrender to it, they can find serenity. Growing up loving to hunt, Bruce decided to seek his greatest adventure yet, to hunt a giant brown bear on his own. What followed was a tale not only of adventure, but of tragedy and redemption through faith. Now 77 years old, Bruce spends his time in Florida golfing and working as a handyman. Clean and sober since 1994, he remains forever grateful to the HELP program and fellowship, as well as family and friends, for his ability to live, love, and enjoy his life one day at a time. Bruce LaChance, author of Lost and Found in Alaska, a true story of survival and miracles on Kodiak Island and elsewhere, our guest on This Week in America. Bruce, welcome to the program. It's great to have you with us.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for having me.
It is our pleasure. It's such an important story, what you went through and sharing with other people. Let's talk about that sharing, deciding to write a book, especially at this stage of your life. What was it that really motivated you to decide, I'm going to tell my story and I'm going to write a book?
Well, to be honest with you, I've been going to do this since I was 21. My mom and I made a feeble effort to write a short story back then, and it was sent to Reader's Digest, and they said thank you, but no thank you. And that's been since then. I've always thought about writing it, but never did anything through my younger years. And after 94, I went more intent about it. And I did do a recording of me telling the story, which lasted, it was professionally done. It was a 45-minute thing. But I still wanted to write the book. And it was only about being lost in Alaska. I don't know, the summer of 2019, I had a friend of mine, and a friend for 10 or 12 years at the time. Him and his wife were coming to Maine. And they knew I was up there, so they were coming for a vacation, and they asked me if I would help them out. And I said I would be glad to. And so I went there 8 days out of the 14 they were there, and one night we went out to supper, and Maureen, Bob and Maureen are these two people, and Maureen says to me, asked me if I had ever written a book that I had intended to write. And I told her, no, I'd never found anybody to help me do it and that stuff. And she said, I think I know somebody. And that's how I got to meet Michael Millardo. When we met, I didn't know if he would write it or not, but I brought that video and he saw that. And then we talked about my battle with recovery and alcoholism. And he said we should do it and he would like to do it. And then he gave me directions and we went from there. You know, that was how it got started and how I got to write it.
That's fantastic, because you were able finally to it all came together. It's almost like it was destined to happen at that particular time, the way everything fit into place. The book is Lost and Found in Alaska. Bruce LaChance is the author, LaChance. Book is at Amazon, the usual places. Go to our website and you can link on directly, get information on the book. We learn a lot about you during the course of reading Lost and Found in Alaska. As you were writing this book, going back through your memory and reliving the story to yourself in your mind, what did you learn about yourself during this process?
Well, you know, that was part of Michael's doing. He wanted me to go back in my life and write about how I got interested in hunting and fishing and how that all got started in my life. So the book starts as a kid, growing up, and the first animal that I ever shot and all those different things that I did as a kid growing up. But it was this program I belong to has a fourth and fifth step in it. And I say that I've learned since I've been involved in this recovery thing that you write down things about it or things that have happened in your life, and you look at it honestly, and then you tell somebody about it. And so that's what this happened. I, I learned things about myself that I didn't remember. And it was like doing a dramatic 4-step, writing things down.
Oh, yes.
And then I got to share that by writing the book. So it's kind of just following a program that I belong to.
And by doing that, you're not only were helping yourself in the process, but helping so many people that have read Lost and Found in Alaska or will be reading your book. What would you like the reader to ultimately take away from reading Lost and Found in Alaska? What do you hope the message is that resonates after they read the book?
Well, the thing that's, I think, most important is that there's hope.
Yes.
And don't ever give up on what you're thinking about doing. And there's always ways to do it. And I do feel like what happened with Maureen and Bob, that was a God shot. That was a God of, and I relate to this higher power as a God, and that can be anything that you consider a higher power. But I believe that this whole thing came together. So if you can believe in something outside of yourself, you can make this work for you in any aspect of your life. So the fact that you maintain hope and know that there's a way to get help, I guess that answers that question as best I can, I guess.
Well, yes, and people will read it, be impressed with what you've done. And if they're facing issues in their lives, they can go, you know, I'm going to follow what Bruce did. And there is a way, as you say, if you just surrender to it, that will bring some serenity to your life. In the book, Lost and Found in Alaska, you touch on other critical life experiences. Are you thinking about another book? Is there enough there to do a follow-up, do you think?
I have no intentions of doing another book, and while I was writing this book, there was so much that I left out of it. I actually have my youngest son is not happy with me, and because I write about my addiction with alcohol and how mean I was, and that's not what he remembers. He remembers all the good things that we did, and so I didn't write about that. So there is stuff that I could write differently about myself. But I have no intentions of doing that.
Well, you never know who you're going to go to dinner with, and you never know when somebody's going to come forward and say, hey, I've got somebody that you should meet because we need to continue this story. Let's talk a little bit about the process of writing the book, and you mentioned how that was almost like a step that you went through. How has that enhanced the journey of recovery? Obviously, it was very helpful for you and instrumental.
Well, this 4th step that I mentioned before was writing things down, and I had never done it to this extent. And I found out things about myself that I always had this higher power with me. My dad in 1970, oh no, not 70, he died in 76, but 8 years before that, he had a heart attack, and I was 14. And I remember going in the room and seeing him in the hospital in an oxygen tent they had then, and tubes in them and all that stuff. And I didn't pass out, but I had tunnel vision, and I left that room and I could see a hallway, and I went to that, and I laid down on that bench, and what I did was I prayed. And that also happened to me when I was lost in Alaska, that I prayed. And I grew up as a Catholic kid, and that's the foundation of my belief, the beginning of my belief. And it's different today, and it's evolving all the time, I think. But those things were in me at that time. And I think that because of the guides to how to live a life, there's and that's what this program is about. And it's something I never had. You know, I grew up as a kid, and I lived in a good home and stuff. And then I went out in the street, and then I got married, and I had kids, and that's what I took into that relationship and how I lived. I had a lot of ego. After I was lost, that was all ego. And I lived on ego for a long time. And that was, I forgot about the God thing and the prayer. And this happened after I come out of the woods in Alaska. I just, that was the fact that nobody had ever lived that was lost over 24 hours on Kodiak Island at that time when I was lost. and I lived there 10 days, I felt like a hero. And it was in my own mind anyway. And that carried me till I was 51 when I asked for help when I got into recovery. And that's 30 years, 21 to 51 years of living on my ego. And it didn't work out very well.
You know, it's an amazing story. Bruce LaChance, our guest on the program. The book is Lost and Found in Alaska, a true story of survival and miracles on Kodiak Island and elsewhere. Book available at Amazon, all the usual places. Go to our website. You'll be able to link on directly, get some information there. We mentioned in the beginning how it was later in life when you finally followed through to write this book. What advice would you have for other potential authors out there? Probably a lot of people like you that have contemplated writing a book, sort of intimidated by the process. You went in, you did it successfully. What advice for other people that may be in that same situation?
Well, the thing that I feel is very important is the fact that to believe in yourself. And if you can ask for help, you can do anything. And meaning that we all have a story to tell. And if it's not a selfish story, it's a story that you want to offer to other people that might be able to help them. I think anything like that is doable. And if you believe in that and you have a hope and you believe in a power outside of yourself, I don't know how that works for other people. I know how it works for me. But that's extremely important to take that. It's got to be part of who you are, I think. I feel God. I don't see God or hear God or anything. And the American Indians use the wind as how they hear voice of the God of their understanding. And all of us, it's so personal for each one of us. But if you have that conviction or you have that belief that there's nothing that's impossible to do, that you can do anything. And the only thing that keeps us from doing it is we don't ask for help. And we don't want help. We think we can handle it ourselves. And by asking for help, you have the opportunity to help other people.
Yes.
One thing helps another, so.
The title is Lost and Found in Alaska. Why should readers care about your experience in Alaska? It's sort of the foundation for your redemption story, isn't it?
Well, it certainly is. And, when I wrote it, the story for Reader's Digest with my mom, that was just about being lost. And there was no prayer in it at all. And there's more to this story about being lost and the connection with a higher power, or the power within us that we can use to get through life. So today, when I write the story, I would like people to get hope from that. Hope that it's possible for them to have that same experience that I've had. And meaning that it's available to anybody. And it doesn't have to be about a book or anything like that. It's just about life itself. With help, we can get through anything. And we need other people to help us. We're meant to be with people, I think. And, it's, I hear God speak through other people. I'll have a problem, and we have a thing called sponsorship in this thing that I do, that recovery thing. And I'll be all caught up in my own head about something that's really driving me nuts. And I'll get a phone call, and it'll be some person that I'm sponsoring, and they'll unload their problem on me, and I forget about my own problem. So that person that's calling me is helping me as much as I'm helping them.
Yes.
And that's, if you can get a frame of mind like that in the way you live your life, anything is possible.
During the time you were lost, and we've all, I love the sort of the metaphor there, the wilderness. You were literally lost in the wilderness. All of us face wilderness, a different type. We're not lost in Alaska, but wildernesses that we go through. When you were there, you didn't stay in place and let them find you. Why didn't you stay in place?
Well, when when that actually happened, I flew out to the middle of the island where I wanted to go, and a small plane, but the guy left me on an island. And when I say that, high tide it was an island, and low tide it was not an island, and it was mid-tide. And it went over my hip boots, and I had to walk through that water to get to shore. And that guy is long gone now with the plane and stuff at that time, and I was mad, and it was raining, and I was soaking wet. And I got to the end of the bay, and I climbed up in a tree, and I spent the night there, and I decided I'm going out of the woods tomorrow. I knew it was about a 12 or 14-hour walk, but I was going to leave in the morning, and I wasn't going to hunt bear or anything. I was going to leave. So I got to a river at 6 o'clock in the morning, and I started up, and I knew this is Elbow Creek, and it's got that name for a reason. And I started walking. At 7 o'clock, a bear ran across in front of me, and I shot that bear. And that's a whole story in itself, and it's in the book. But then I was afraid to follow that bear after I wounded it. I shot it twice. And I knew it was going to die, and I just didn't have the wherewithal to go there, you know, and to do this. So what happened is I made a decision that I would walk out of the woods like I was planning. I would get my friend LaChance, and the two of us come around with a fisherman with a boat, and then we'd come up from the ocean upstream an hour, and that's where I shot the bear. And we'd go find it. A day later, it would be dead, and we'd skin it, and then I would have my bear hide. That's something I would not do today, is shoot a bear, but that was, and then that was what my goal was.
Yes.
So when I left that point, I was driven to walk out. And as I went upstream on Elbow Creek, the water got deeper and deeper, and I couldn't stay in the river. And I got out on the right-hand side. I was supposed to take a left off of that river. And the reason the water got so rough and mean is where those two rivers came together. Now, I realized that after the fact. At the time, I didn't realize that. So I thought I could take a left anywhere. So I walked out of the river, and the alders are so thick that I climbed up a mountain, a cliff, and I tied my backpack on a rope, and then my gun in the middle of the rope, and then my belt loop, and I climbed up a mountain, pulled my rifle and thing, and that's how I got to the top of the mountain. And there's the river running right next to me. And that river that I was on to start with was headed south. The elbow now it was running west. And it had turned that elbow. As I climbed up the mountain and saw the river again, it had turned that elbow. And I now, instead of going south, I went west. And I was not on the path that the people knew I was going to come out of the woods at and come out at Buskin Lake and all that. So nobody would ever look for me where I was. I was miles away from where I was supposed to be. And so that's why I didn't stop. I just kept persevering and moving forward because I knew I was going to get out of the woods somewhere.
Now, all of this is in Bruce's book, Lost and Found in Alaska. I'll give you some information on that. It's, of course, available at Amazon, the usual places. A couple minutes left in the program. You talk about some unsung heroes of this ordeal. Mentioned some as we were talking, some mentioned in the book as well. Who were some of those, the unsung heroes that helped you through this?
Well, it would be LaChance, the man I was going to go hunting with, and Arthur Cook, a man I worked with, that the two of them instigated the search party. They wouldn't look for me till I was not back on leave on the 17th. And this was the 15th when the two of them started their venture to try to find me. I actually chased on the 14th, walked into where I shot the bear. But anyway, those two people, LaChance and Arthur Cook, were the two most important people and unsung heroes in my life story.
So many lessons that you talk about that we find in reading Lost in Alaska. Is there a single most important lesson that's in your book?
Well, I can say that today. I would not have been able to say that years ago, but I can say trust God, the God of your understanding, not the God of my understanding. Anything that you believe in, trust God, trust that feeling. Help others. the part of this thing that's so important is to trust this power that's greater than yourself, and things seem to work out. And I think that's the message that I'd like to have people understand, is that believing in just yourself, this higher power or whatever it is that's within us, is available to all of us. And getting to it is a matter of willingness. Open-minded willingness.
It's worked so well for you, and you share the tools, which is so important as you read through the book. Now, the book is Lost and Found in Alaska, a true story of survival and miracles on Kodiak Island and elsewhere. The author is Bruce LaChance. That's LaChance. Book available at Amazon, Barnes & Noble, all the usual places. If you go to our website, you can link on directly to the Amazon page. Bruce, thank you so much for being with us on the program, telling the story. Congratulations on the success you're having with the book and the fact that by sharing your story, all of your story, you're able to help so many other people. Thank you for being with us on the program.
Thank you for having me.
It has been our pleasure. Bruce LaChance, author of Lost and Found in Alaska, a true story of survival and miracles on Kodiak Island and elsewhere. Book available at Amazon. Go to our website, thisweekinamerica.us, for more information. We're back on today's program after these messages.
This Week in America is online. You can visit our website, thisweekinamerica.us. Scott Pinkerton, associate producer of This Week in America. Jay Anderson, segment producer. Ben Watson, webmaster. Otto Bechet, director of engineering and TV production. This Week in America produced and is a trademark of Blue Funk Broadcasting, LLC. For information on all of our guests and to listen to this week's show, our website again at thisweekinamerica.us. And I'm Sean Bratton, executive producer of This Week in America.